Hey guys, and welcome back to Darkhorse Paranormal. We hope you all had a good Christmas and Happy New Year. Today we bring to you another story by Tom Selman. And we bring to you The Vampire in Greater Manchester. However, this story starts in County Cavan Island in the late 19th century. A certain priest by the name of Father Randall went to see his local doctor to help him investigate the source of a nagging pain he had in his side, along with a constant ticklish cough. It was a disappointment. The doctor gave the priest a full examination, and sometime later he told the father he had tuberculosis. "How long have I got, doctor?" Father Randall asked. "About 3 months, perhaps 4, the doctor replied. However, this is where this particular story turns dark. There was long rumours the state Father Randall's mother was a witch who practiced the darkest form of magic. However, these rumours go as far to say that she'd fallen out with the son because he chose Jesus Christ. Yet, when the priest died, his mother was the person who held his wake. And on the second night of this old ritual, when all the mourners had gone, it was rumoured that she evoked demons to resurrect his son. But this came at a price. The demons insisted Mrs. Randall's life in return, and they took it accordingly, exactly a year after the resurrection. The priest woke up in his open coffin in the early hours of the morning and threw the rosary that had been placed on his fist across the room. Randall was confused and a little afraid at first. He went to visit an old friend, Father Hallen, an elderly priest in a neighbouring parish, to see if he knew why they had been brought back to life. Father Hallen saw that Randall couldn't bear to look at the crucifix and seemed equally edgy when his gaze fell upon the Holy Bible. The old priest knew about vampires from a personal experience, and he was well aware of the strange stance the Catholic Church took regarding vampires. Most of them were delusions, but some were dead bodies, remained by Satan to carry out his schemes. The Vatican suspected vampires of the latter sort to be exhumed from the grave and burned. No compassion was to be shown towards ex-humans according to the Vatican chiefs, and these were laws laid down in an era when babies who died before baptism were staked to prevent them becoming minor demons in hell. Thank God today this barbaric law regarding deceased unbaptized children has been repealed, and the Church now believes such infants are free of original sin, and as such they would return straight to God after death. Father Hallen had a long talk with the vampiric ex-priest and advised him to undergo an exorcism and allow himself to return to death with a spotless soul, but Randall stormed out the house and vanished into the night. Hallen visited Mrs. Randall, and discovered that woman was not only a practicing witch, her idol was Crumcraft, an evil pre-Christian deity of Erin, dating back thousands of years. The stone idol of Crom, covered by gold leaf, stood on the plain, the true plain of drawing prostitution in the country, Cavan, surrounded by 12 lesser graven idols of bare stone. Each year on the 1st of November, a third of the children of the country was sacrificed to the Cromcrow in return for fertile land, good crop yield, disease-free cattle, and good weather. The god was one of the most feared in Ireland, and the reports of worshippers of concrete being destroyed by the very act of adoration. The golden idol dedicated to Cromcrow is thought to have been constructed and erected by Tigerman, also known as the Lord of Death. Little is known about him, but words on the street suggest he may have been a renegade Roman legion commander who had become obsessed with the dark cult. On this night, Tigerman and 3/4 of his army were praying on the floor to Cromcrow when an unknown force destroyed them all instantly. Some accounts say lightning bolts from the idol struck Tigerman's and worshippers and left nothing but smoldering carbonized corpse. The very name Cromcrow means bloody bent one, and is surmised to be a reference to the tall, crooked shadow entity that lived behind the idol. It demanded the blood of influence in the local population supplied with the throat slitting and 100 babies over the idol. From this time, the drinking of blood has been identified with the gaining of power, be it for man or God. The Aztecs, to appease the graven idols, poured blood into the mounds, and the Romans were horrified when several members of Christianity misinterpreted the symbolic essence of communication with its ritual partaking of bread and wine. Instead, this Christian village resorted to actual cannibalism and did indeed eat flesh and drink their blood. In the east, in the Indian Rajas, entity drank blood from several heads to retain the vigour. If we look at the book of Leviticus in the Old Testament, God declares for the life of the flesh is in the blood, and I have given it to you upon the altar to make an atonement for your souls, for it is the blood and the reason of the life. Cromcrow, the blood-drinking god of the old island, was chased into opposite by St. Patrick when he attacked the idol with a sledgehammer and shattered it. A shadowy parasitic of pure evil that left behind a facade of Gillis statue fled County Craven to an unknown destination. Some say it restored to vampiric attacks to testify its grand lust for blood. Some occults and witches who dealt with the most dangerous and negative form of magic continued to worship Cromcrow, and Mrs. Randall, the mother of the rescued priest, had been one such worshipper, as we have mentioned. What was known as Randall boarded the ship at Dublin and sailed for Liverpool, not once coming back onto the deck during the crossing, possibly because he had developed a heightened sensitivity to light. He may have stayed below deck by pretending to be ill, but when the ship arrived at Liverpool docks, it was dusk. As the ship had been delayed by a violent storm, Randall travelled through Liverpool to Manchester, and here he was said to have newly discovered a talent for hypnosis, which he used to enslave several women. Some versions of this tale have him living up until 1930s, when he met a gruesome death through decapitation after being involved within a car crash. Some say the Randalls buried under a false name in All Saints Cemetery, Newton Heath, Greater Manchester, and this black marble gravestone has a cryptic symbol showing a zigzag line enclosed in a circle of lines dating from its perimeter an ancient pictogram representing Crack, perhaps. There is a strange epilogue to this story. In the 1960s, there were a spate of ghost reports at All Saints Cemetery, which a man in a long flowing black robe was seen to fly over the air of the gravestones. A woman living 300 yards away from the cemetery on Biscoe Lane had the misfortune of seeing the ghost one night in 1967 as it looked through her bedroom window. She described the face of a ghastly pale colour, and she also made a very intriguing reference. She remarked the mouth of the ghoul was red, as if it was full of blood, and there was a deep scar that ran around the neck, the type of scar Randall could have had when they showed his head back on his body prior to his burial, perhaps. The same apparition was seen 3 times that month. He was flying over the wall of a warehouse in Oldham Road at 2 o'clock in the morning by a night watchman, and a policeman also obtained saw him ghost hovering at the window of an old woman's house on Gaskell Street at 11 p.m. But the most terrifying encounter took place at midnight that month, when the Black Road phantom through after a teenage girl down Cockford Lane at 1 in the morning. Frances Doran was aged 16 and had lost track of the time at her boyfriend's house in the Dean Lee area. She had pleaded with him to escort her home, just a 12-minute walk away. Her boyfriend said he wasn't feeling so well, but Frances stormed off in a huff. As she walked down the lane, it started to rain heavily. The girl quickened her pace, but she realised that someone was walking behind her. She walked on, too afraid to glance back, but the footsteps behind her suddenly ceased, so the teenager thought she was now safe, and as something swooped down on her from the front. It was a grinning white-faced man in a cloak, and he hung in the air as if he was suspended by wires. Frances screamed and ran in the other direction, and as she ran along she felt a cold hand grabbing her hair. She was too afraid to look up, but she could see the shadow of a flying assailant on the floor as it ran back to her boyfriend's house. When she reached the house, Frances heard laughter above and silence. She hammered on her boyfriend's door, and when his father answered, the girl ran past him and hid under the stairs sobbing. The girl's story was not believed initially, but then reports of other sightings of the cloak of the friend were reported in the local papers. The parents of Frances Dawson went to the local police station to report the weird attacker, but the sergeant said, irresponsible pranksters, they're obviously to blame. How these jokers floated up to the bedroom windows and sailed over 12-foot walls was never explained to the common sense sergeant. The policeman who actually seen the operation, levitated up to the window of a house, was even accused for being over-imaginative. The constable insisted that he had seen the entity and was not prone to imagining things, but was advised to shut up. The sergeant's mind could not take something extraordinary, so he swept it under the carpet and ignored it. Perhaps the ghostly assailant was just a spectre of one of the many people buried in All Saints Church. Or perhaps a vampiric form of Priest Randall rose from his grave in search of blood. Should we, Darkhorse Paranormal, go and check out this ferry at All Saints Cemetery in Greater Manchester with an investigation? Well, please let us know in the comments, and if you like our content, please share, like, subscribe, and until next time, sleep tight.